Hey folks, so in front of me I've got two AC units that I have used exclusively on my rooftop tent camping setup. They are very different in size and output in terms of BTU. Typically I don't do reviews on this channel, but here in Texas in the summer, AC units are absolutely critical. You can argue with me that it's not camping if you have an AC unit. I disagree because here in Texas, there is no camping season if you can't keep it below at least 90 degrees inside your tent at night. It's just too hot and too muggy to really enjoy it, and sometimes it could probably even be a little bit dangerous. So for the last almost 3 years, I have used my Zero Breeze Mark II unit. It has been a good unit. It even comes with a battery pack that you can use without having to plug it into grid power, and it'll run for about 2.5 to 3 hours when this thing is set to its lowest setting. Pedal to the floor settings, it'll get about 2.5, 3 hours. It's 2,300 BTU, so it is not made for a really big area to cool down. But I'm not going to knock it because I have used it for 3 years and it has worked. The advantages to this unit are obviously the small size of it, the fact that you can put a battery on it, and it's got a remote to it that you can control some of the settings without having to physically get up to the front to touch these buttons. I do like the fact that you can do that, which is one of the things on this one that I'm going to kind of talk about. But the Zero Breeze Mark II, it's been good. Now on the Zero Breeze, you got two different pricing tiers that you can purchase this setup from. You can purchase it just like this without the added battery, and that's gonna run you $999,000. You don't get anything else except a remote, the actual unit, and some hoses. Now, if you want to add the battery pack, which again will give you, in my experience, around 2 to 3 hours, that's gonna run you $1,700. So that battery is about $699. You put those two together, you're looking at around $1,700 for this 2,300 BTU AC with the battery that's gonna get you between 2 to 3 hours. Now this is the BougeRV 4,000 BTU AC unit, and I did not want to show this to you folks until I actually used it myself out on a trip. And just last weekend I used this. It got up to 105 degrees during the day. At night it kind of gradually cooled down. I believe around 2 a.m. it got down to 89, 90 degrees, but we had humidity 75%, so it was sticky and hot. But I did use this thing and I wanted to make sure that it worked before I even talked to you about it on this channel. And I can say I actually got too cold in the tent that night. I had to open up my window to kind of let some of that cold air vent out. So yes, it does work very well. It is a bigger unit. Obviously, you can see the size difference between the two. Okay, this is about 32 pounds. This is around 20 pounds without the battery. Add about another 10 pounds with the battery, and you're kind of at the same weight ratio between the two once you add the battery. But this is around 30 pounds, okay? So it's not crazy heavy, but it is a bigger unit. Again, it's got 4,000 BTU versus 2,300 BTU. And here in Texas, that really does make a difference. Again, it kept me cool when I really didn't think it was gonna work, to be honest with you. Now, one of the things about this new 4,000 BTU AC unit is it does not offer any type of battery pack. So you have to plug this into a power station, to a generator, to shore power, which is how I used it, one of the power pedestals at camp. Plug this up to my watt meter up here so I can show you exactly how many watts this thing does pull, especially at startup. But I believe it's around 500 watts just continuously running on high settings. So it takes a lot of power. You're not really gonna have a power station big enough to run it overnight. I mean, you can take one of these big Blue Eddies with the huge B300 batteries, but that's not really feasible. So you really do need to bring either a generator, some gas, or just not camp when it's 100 degrees. But this thing kept me cool. That's all that I really cared about because I had shore power. Up front, you've got the two vents that you can kind of angle at wherever you want. You've got an LED light around the front, which I didn't use. You've got the front intake, which does have removable filters that you can take out and wash. Good deal. And then around the back, you have your drain plug, which you're gonna have, these units do create condensation. So you have a drain plug here, and it comes with a little drain hose that you just simply push on the back. And before I go any further, I forgot to mention the price on this. So this right now, at the time of making this video, is $1,000. Pretty much the same price as the Zero Breeze Mark II. I believe there's even a 10% coupon code on BougeRV's website, but I don't want to confirm that because those things go off and on all the time. But $1,000 for this unit right now. And one of the big advantages of this compared to the Zero Breeze is that it comes with this little front adapter plate, and it just pops right on, And you don't have to put this unit inside the tent, because you've got some pretty massive, if you saw my video, you saw the massive hoses. So this is the hose that's going to push the cold air into wherever you're trying to air condition. It just sits right in there. It expands as far as you'll probably need. And then you have the 6-inch hose. This is going to suck the air out of what I was using in my tent. So it helps to pull out that humid, sticky air and recondition it and spit out cold, fresh, clean, dry air. My Zero Breeze does not have a way. You have to stick this thing inside the tent because it does have a front air inlet that will suck in the interior air, but this does not have any type of adapter plate to run a hose up into my tent to suck that air out. So this always had to stay in my tent. And these units are way more efficient if you can suck some of that humid, sticky air out and let it condition that air, push that cold air out. You can keep these things outside of the tent. That's how I ran my Zero Breeze a lot of the time. So to do that, you wouldn't use this big, huge 6-inch hose. You would stick this thing in the tailgate, in the bed of my truck, and then I would just pipe this air outlet into the tent. The only problem with that is pushing cold air into the tent, but it's not pulling out that humid air. I really, really like the fact that I can stick this up in my tent, pull that nasty air out, and then put back in cool, dry air via this little adapter. So that's one of the main benefits that I like about this unit, other than it's 4,000 BTU, almost twice the size as my Zero Breeze that I've been using. If you do want to keep this thing in your tent, if you have like a small, 10 or 15 foot camper, it comes with a plate on the back that you can install to vent out all of the hot air. So you would just stick this thing in just like this. This is going to be your intake and outtake, and it's going to exhaust all of the hot air out. So you could keep this inside your RV and then somehow route all of the hot air exhaust out, and then coming out the front is going to be your cool air, and then sucking in through the front is going to be all of the air, all the interior air wherever you have this system. So you got kind of two ways that you can run this. But if you did happen to see my last video, I ran this thing outside. I put the cover plate on the front of this unit, and I ran both of my ducts up into my tent. And no lie, guys, I got cold at night, so I can vouch for the fact that this thing works well. I didn't want to show this, folks, to you until I knew for certain on my own if it did work. Let's just do a quick test to see how much power this thing draws. So I've got a watt meter here plugged in. I do have it completely zeroed out, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in this unit, and I'm going to start it. This is going to monitor the surge rush that this thing takes, as well as on max setting, how many watts does it actually use, so you can kind of get a better idea of the size of generator that you'll need, or if you want, how many batteries you're going to need to run this thing overnight. But I'm going to get this thing cut on, and we are set to 60 degrees, full fan. And the compressor has not cut on yet. You can maybe see that we're pulling 19 watts. And this does have 4 settings for the fan. It's got a low, medium, high, and turbo mode on the fan settings. There we go, 235 watts. And it's gonna climb. I don't believe that compressor is fully going yet. And I do have this in the turbo mode as well. So this is really kind of worst case scenario in terms of how much power you're gonna need. And we're at 420 watts now. I'll show you kind of when it gets up to the peak. There are no actual physical mechanical buttons either. It's all an LED screen up top with kind of pressure sensitive buttons up top. So there is no buttons to actually press on this unit. But we are now up to 450-ish watts. All right, we just passed 500 watts. So it's taking right now 502 watts. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you do want something like this, you're obviously, like I said, gonna need some type of generator that's going to be able to run this thing overnight if that's what you need, or shore power, because it does take a little bit of power. My advice to you is if you do get this unit, prepare to have to spend around 520 watts per hour running this machine to keep you cool. So this has only been running, honestly, for about 5 to 10 minutes. So let's take an air temp of the air coming out. And right now that's sitting at 65.8 degrees. and we are at an ambient temperature inside the garage at 94 degrees. So that's not bad. This will continue to get cooler and cooler the longer that it runs. It does put out cold air. That's all I'm gonna say, and a lot of cold air. The fact that it could push in enough cold air in my uninsulated rooftop tent last weekend, enough so that I had to open up a window to let some of that cold air out. I can vouch for the fact that it will keep you cool. And it is, again, around the same price as the Zero Breeze without a battery. So you're getting way more BTUs with this unit than you are the Zero Breeze. The only con that I found with this unit while using it is that it does not have Bluetooth functionality or a remote. So that's why I had to open up my window, because this was set outside my tent. I didn't want to climb down at 3 o'clock in the morning and change the settings. I wish that it came with a remote at least. That way I could sit laying in my bed in the rooftop tent and raise up the temperature, lower the fan rate, whatever. But I can't do anything. You have to actually physically touch the buttons on top to do anything to change the settings. I think BougeRV missed the mark there by either not putting some kind of app or Bluetooth on this system, or giving us a remote that we can change without having to physically go to the front of this unit to change it. So that's the only con that I found with this unit. Everything else about it, it kept me cool. So I really did want to test this out on a actual camping trip of mine to make sure that it worked, make sure that it could keep me cool, make sure that it could compare to the Zero Breeze, and it honestly overpowered the Zero Breeze in every aspect, other than the fact I have to change the settings on it from the screen. I like the dual front outtake and intake ducts that I can suck air out of my tent, that nasty air, and push cold, dry air in. Unlike my Zero Breeze, where I have to keep the actual Zero Breeze in the tent if I want that to happen. And the fact that it's 4,000 BTUs for about the same price as the Zero Breeze with no battery. This is gonna be kind of mainly for shore power type camping, or if you have a generator. But I'm gonna say that it works very well, guys, and this absolutely will be my air conditioning setup, I believe, for this summer, because I know now that it can keep me cool. But the exhaust coming out, that's warm, 115 degrees coming out of the back. If that's showing up. So that's why you absolutely want to exhaust this hot air somewhere. That's why these hoses are so important, is to get that hot air away from you, because 115 degree exhaust does not feel good when it's 100 degrees outside. First, let me see if I can see the peak amount that this unit took on startup. Yeah, so the high that this unit has taken in the last 20 minutes since starting it up in turbo mode is 518 watts. So that should give you a pretty good idea of what you need to use to run this BougeRV 4,000 BTU AC. That's it, guys. Don't really like doing reviews on this channel, but this is a critical piece of the puzzle for me here in Texas. Summer camping. Without this or the Zero Breeze or even my window AC unit that I used in my truck last year, without those items, I can't camp. Yeah, you could if you absolutely had to, but it would not be enjoyable and I wouldn't be out there doing it. So these actually make it pleasant once you get up in the tent after being out in the heat all day. So I am not an affiliate of BougeRV. I will leave a link for this down below if you want to check it out. Just know that I don't get a penny if you go buy it. I did not want to be an affiliate of BougeRV. I think that kind of skews my opinion to some people if they think I'm getting paid off of a link off of this item. So I do not take any affiliate sponsorships whatsoever off of these. So check it out for yourself. See if there's a sale, see if there's still that 10% off coupon. But I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna be using this summer. It put out more cold air than my Zero Breeze, and I can't really use a 5,000 BTU window air conditioning unit in my rooftop tent setup. Sure, I could build some kind of piping contraption to do that, but this is just a little bit nicer option. So guys, thanks for watching. Again, I just wanted to wait until I use this to actually show this to you, and it works well. That's all I can say. And we will see you in the next few weeks when I'm using this thing again out in this miserable Texas heat. So we'll see you soon, gang.